So picking this back up, memory. So whether it's been from a bacteria, a virus, a parasite, something, pollen, whatever, you have this response to it. And your body, through the B cell and through the T cells, through the cell mediated and through the antibody mediated immune responses, you produce these memory cells, memory T cells and memory B cells. Now, the first time you're exposed, when you have no immunity, it takes a while for your immune system to catch up. And a lot of damage can be done to the body in that period of time. If we can get a head start, if we can get a jump on that, if we can take the antigen, and if we can somehow or another produce it and show it to the body where it triggers the immune response, but it doesn't trigger the inflammation, then we can then build memory and such in the body. And that's how vaccines, that's the idea of vaccines and such. You want a part that causes the T cell and B cell activation, the presenting and the processing and all of that, but you don't want the inflammation. You don't want the damage that can happen in that. So that's how vaccines work. You're trying to get the B cells and T cells to produce the memory so that when you encounter that antigen later, your body recognizes it and it mounts a very rapid defense within hours, shutting down that antigen from being able to do any damage to the body. That's the idea of vaccines. When we do that, we impart immunity to a specific antigen. You have this naturally if you've been exposed to something, chicken pox and all. So that's a naturally acquired, or we can give it to you through a vaccine, and that is an artificially acquired. It does the same thing. Our body's been doing this for millions, hundreds of thousands, millions of years. We're here, it works. Vaccines work. Passive immunity, this is where you get immunity from someone else. You really have no memory formed when you do a passive immunity. It's working right now, but you don't get the memory from it. Usually this is where you take immunogamma globulin antibodies from one person, filter it out of their blood through their plasma, and then put it into another person. This happened from mama to baby and such. It occurs like that. But it also occurs through medical intervention, taking and washing those the plasma and then getting it and putting it in. Other parts of your immune system, self and non-self. Like we mentioned, your body, you produce these MHC antigens. And your B cells and T cells, as they are in the bone or as they're in the thymus gland, they are being schooled on who to attack and who not to attack. So they have to be trained into being able to recognize self. Okay, that's this positive selection, if you will, the ones that are able to say, yes, I recognize this MHC as self. If they don't, then you have what's known as a negative selection. And you hope, cross your fingers, that your body in the thymus gland and the bone marrow takes these cells that don't recognize self and gets rid of them, either by destroying them or making them inactive. That's how your body will then be able to tolerate your immune system. Your immune system are these cells, and they are dangerous because they can turn against you. They're very powerful in keeping the body alive, but they can turn against the body. If that happens, you have an autoimmune disease. And that's not all of them. That's a very small list of autoimmune diseases and such. A cell can become a cancer cell. It'll produce those antigens that they then express on their surface. Your T cells, your B cells recognize this, T cells mostly, and then boom, it destroys them. It's a hope that we learn these pathways and that we can then, if you were to have a cancer, tune or fine tune your immune system to attack that cancer. That's the hope, and that's why we try to study and understand this. That would be a much better way of treating cancer than chemicals and radiation and cutting. So that's the world you're moving into right there. Along the way, by studying this, and maybe we can alleviate the symptoms or stop or reverse these other types of autoimmune diseases and all. Lastly, HIV is a virus. A lot of other viruses in the news today, but this is one that is known and has been known for quite a while. But if we could find a vaccine for this, find a treatment for this, it would be a much needed boost to mankind, if you will. So, but the virus itself goes after those helper T cells, and without them, you don't get the antibody mediated or the cell mediated. With no immune system, your resistance is lowered, severely lowered and such. And then things that you fight off every day, you can't. And then there are some conditions that are noticed just in AIDS patients and all. And so you can see pneumocystis carnii is a form of pneumonia. A Kaposi sarcoma is a form of skin cancer. Tuberculosis, it's a bacterial disease of the lungs and such. So AIDS is decimated the world, and it's kind of on the back burner. People don't think about it too much, but it's still there. Not a very vibrant virus outside of the body, easily removed, easily destroyed and such. So, all right, there we go.